Hey guys, Matt here from Underground Experience, and today I'm interviewing Addy Idol. So let's just get right into this. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing, man.
That's great. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah.
I'm really glad
So
you're having me on the show.
yeah, of course it's you're truly like someone I think is really talented.
Thank
So
you,
it's an
bro.
honor to have you. So yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, let's get right into this stuff. So the first thing I want to ask you is genre, because that's something I like. I know artists don't like to be put into like genres or like these boundaries, but I think it really does help people understand what your music is for people who have never heard it. So
Yeah.
if you could best describe your music or your sound, how would you describe it?
Um, so it's tricky because I've only recently even been making the type of music that I am making. I used to make so many different types of music. I used to make hyper pop. I actually started out as a rapper. I
I could
used to
totally
do
see
pop
that.
punk. I actually had a pretty decent pop punk song last year that I wrote about an ex that got significant traction. I took it down because it was corny. I think pop punk, except it's if it's not Green Day or Blink 182, it can fucking suck a dick. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not for the whole new pop punk revival. I think it's pretty corny, so I didn't really want to be a part of that. Um, so I don't know. Obviously, the musical aspect of my music. By that I mean like the chords and the guitar and the vocal sound is very folk and blues. But also the lyrical content is very dark and inspired by like the punk and metal and rap that I grew up on. So I feel like alt folk, alternative folk, like punk folk would kind of best describe it. But that's the cool thing, there is no label because what I'm doing hasn't really been done yet, which is why I think it's pretty special.
And that is what is so special about you and your brand of music. Like the criteria I look for when interviewing bands or artists is a lot of times the first thing is, do I think they sound good? Because that's really important.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
You pass that check. So yeah. But the second thing I really look for is kind of unique sound, something that hasn't been done yet. Like someone could sound really good, but if it sounds exactly like another band, to me, it's not original and it's still art, but it's just especially if it's a band that's still performing, you know what I'm saying? So, but you had this just creative, amazing sound that is just so unique and it evokes real emotion in people, I
Oh,
think. So yeah, you basically took the words right out of my mouth with describing your genre or the scene you kind of fit into, which is very alt folk, but still with a lot of rock roots in the bluesiness of it and
definitely.
guitar, like the chord progressions, I think, are very rock inspired, almost sometimes punk inspired. I actually showed my friend a couple of your songs
Oh, fuck yeah.
and how he described it. I'm not sure I would totally agree with this, but I could see it is like if Bob Dylan wore eyeliner.
Bro, literally, look what I bought today. So, I play slide guitar, which is a pretty traditional blues instrument, but I got this shit, which is
Oh
like
wow.
it's literally what Bob Dylan would use. And I don't know how to play harmonica, but I'm gonna teach myself tonight, and like I'll be able to play guitar and go like, and stuff.
I feel
And
like you're underestimating maybe the difficulty of learning harmonica, but
no,
no, you
it's
can
so
still do it.
easy,
You can
bro.
still do it. Yeah.
But and then what I'm gonna do to make it not sound like super nerdy and shit, because harmonicas, I don't know, it's like kind
I
of a
see what you're
virgin
saying.
instrument. Is uh I'm gonna mic it up. Should I be telling everyone this? I don't know. Maybe whatever.
Leaking your secrets
I'm
out
gonna
there.
spill my sauce. I'm gonna mic it up to like an electric guitar amp. So it's gonna because I saw that at a show once. This venue that I performed at in Topanga called the Corza, and there's this dude that was ripping on a harmonica, but it was plugged into an electric guitar amp, and it was the coolest thing. So I'm gonna find a way to combine
That is sick, and like
that.
that will really be a nice addition to your sound. Like
That's pretty cool.
it'll just. I think that was the only thing like when I was listening to your music that I was like, this the only thing that it wasn't a bad thing. It's just like something that I personally experienced with. I feel like there wasn't that many layers to it because usually it's just guitar and vocals, which isn't a bad thing. But I think that added layer of harmonica might be exactly what you need just to blow people out of the water. You know?
I'm also working on like putting a full band together and getting a drummer.
Yeah.
At the very least for my recordings, because I'm recording an EP, another one like next week, and I'm gonna have live drums on that, and hopefully
Yeah,
performances as well.
that would be so cool. Yeah, and your first EP was really good. I really enjoyed
Oh,
it. I
thanks.
just actually posted about it today.
Yeah, I saw
And
it reposted.
yeah, thank you, man. I did see that. Yeah, it's just you know what really touched me about your like album is it was the thematic themes is repetitious, but anyways, the themes behind the album or the EP were so raw and so transparent and so relatable for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah,
And I forget which song it is. I'm sorry, but there's some there, one of them is really about it could I think it might be failure, where it's really talking about like how at the end of the day our biggest like antagonists are sometimes ourselves.
yeah.
And I think that's something I relate to and a lot of other people do. So I think it's really cool that you're able to touch on themes like that.
Well, that was definitely about loss of innocence, and like looking back into what I've become from what I am now to like who I was as a little kid. Under the circumstances in which I wrote the album, it was definitely a very intense period of my life. I had gotten recently out of a pretty heavy relationship with someone who was very controlling, and I also crashed my car, almost died, had a near death
I'm
experience.
so sorry. That sounds
Realized I needed to
really bad.
focus on music, but I also didn't know which type of music to make. So I went, and so I didn't know which type of music I needed to make, and then I also got $3,000. I also just turned 18, and then I got $3,000 in my bank from a savings account I had since I was a kid. So I was super depressed, very kind of directionless, and I had all this money, and I was definitely spending it on the wrong things, and it that whole album was kind of like a self-realization moment, and it's very centered around like loss of innocence and like kind of corruption of your mind and heart from being like a good, well-mannered, like kind of somewhat angelic, imaginative, happy little kid to like, becoming a little destructive and
Yeah.
chaotic as a young adult.
Yeah. I could totally see that in your EP. And I think I want to say I'm so sorry about all that happening with
Oh, of
the car
course, man.
crash,
That's
man.
all good. I don't have anything to show for it except this. I have like a scar on my face. I don't know if you can see it. Like it's like a horseshoe right here.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I almost died, and the only thing that survived was my guitar. My car got completely fucked. It almost broke in half.
As terrible as that is, that's almost poetic.
It
That's
was
very
poetic because I was in the and I was my face was bleeding. I had a really bad concussion, and I was barely conscious going to the ER. And I was like, man, if I live, like that guitar is gonna become my purpose. So
that's so awesome. Before you even thinking about like your car or anything else, the music. That's beautiful. That's really cool. That
yeah,
shows
yeah,
the true passion of yours. And yeah, that EP deals with heavy themes we've already talked about. And I think it's really great that you're able to share those with other people because I know that might be a hard thing to talk about, or in a way, a therapeutic thing because music is very much expression like that. And yeah, I think that next thing I want to talk about is your aesthetic, and that kind of ties it in with the whole horseshoe scar. And that's that you look badass, my friend. You were just amazing.
yeah.
Like I just love the fits. I love everything. It's just so cool. And I know that the main thing we're supposed to be talking about is the music, but with that is also presentation.
That's
And I
very.
think you kill it.
I mean, that's really important to me. I think the problem with rock nowadays and alternative music, which isn't as much of a problem anymore because there are more figures that are doing this, but especially live musicians, people that play instruments, is they might be able to play well, but they're not rock stars and they don't have that energy. And I don't want to call myself a rock star. Rock star. I think that's pretty jaded, and like anyone who calls himself a rock star definitely isn't. And plus, like, I want to be the next thing. I feel like that's of the past. I want to be what's next. But you know, if we use that terminology, I know people in the LA scene, in like the downtown LA scene, that are kind of like rappers, or they make like kind of like emo rap or alternative rap mixed with rock. And they're singing over backing tracks with autotune. They can't play instruments very well. They're not necessarily as musically talented as the live bands that I play with, but they have swagger. They have energy. Hot girls come to the shows. They dress cool. They act in a way that is entertaining, and they have the personality. And I feel like a lot of rock musicians now that I know just kind of, they don't exude the personality. They're not interesting. They don't put an effort to like look good on stage. And that's why I feel like for a while rock was dead and kind of rappers were the new rock stars. So I think a really important thing, not only do I do this because I enjoy it, but I think it's important as a musician to gain a following and to do your job to the best of your ability. It's not just about knowing how to play scales. It's about embodying a character and like in every single way becoming that.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and that's kind of a big part of what we're trying to do here is kind of bring back that face to rock in the mainstream in a way where it's not just sounding good, but it's identifiable and also something that catches on with people, right? Because I hear what you're saying. I do agree that a lot of the newer alt kind of scene has people who can play very well, but they don't have the charisma and the stage presence that maybe people had back in the 90s or maybe even the early 2000s. And I think although there is a lot of it, there needs to be more. And I think especially in the main light. And I think, combining those kind of two genres almost of the swagger of the emo rappers kind of, and then the talent, not saying they're not talented, but then the musicianship of the alt rockers is kind of a really cool dynamic. And I think a lot
Yeah,
of times when you cross two things like that, you come up with a really cool product.
not even necessarily like emo rappers, but just like alternative artists in LA who kind of came from rap. Like I've met, I don't know if you know who Chapo is.
Yeah.
Chapo, the shoot you off for me, that dude. I've met him
Yeah.
on a few occasions. I've been to parties with him.
Oh, that's crazy.
He's a rock star. Like, he kills it. He's surrounded by hot girls. He commands the room. He does his shit. He looks fucking cool. Like, and he's rich off of his music, and I don't even think he can play an instrument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be really crazy when someone combines the musicality and the image, because I feel like for some reason it's always very either or.
Yeah, totally. I totally see that. For sure, for sure. And what are some like, as far as your aesthetic goes, I know it's very original and yeah, it's very original, but what are some big inspirations from maybe past celebrities or even just people in your life that kind of helped build up to the aesthetic you have now?
Um, well, watching The Dirt when I was 16 definitely changed a lot of that for me, because at that time I was still definitely a rapper, and I was like wearing Champion, and I was I was into Lil Peep, and I was listening to Nirvana, so I had some alternative taste, but I wasn't fully set on it. And then once I saw, because up until that moment, I thought I was into like My Chemical Romance and Taking Back Sunday and like a lot of like sad rock bands and Nirvana, which is like not necessarily melancholy, but it's definitely negative. And I thought I loved rock, but I felt like it was kind of just sad and depressing, and I didn't know it was fun.
Yeah.
When I saw The Dirt and I saw how fun it could be, and I saw how you could just how they dressed. I loved the way they dressed. I loved the vest. I liked how they were in good shape. That's something it's always been important to me. I've I've been an athlete my whole life. I used to play baseball,
Oh, that's sick. My brother plays baseball actually.
to music. Obviously, I didn't really mesh with the jocks, and like I stopped going to school, so it didn't work out for me. But yeah, I watched The Dirt, and then I got into Motley Crue, and just like I have a Vince Neil poster on my wall, and
Oh,
just like
no.
that kind of stuff. I love Axl Rose's style, and Scott Weiland, the lead singer of STP. He
Yeah.
was also in Velvet Revolver, which is like a proto hair metal band, and yeah, kind of like them. David Bowie. Always thought
Yeah.
Bowie looked cool. Um,
Yeah. I kind of see like there's two sides of the kind of fashion inspiration in the sense that like you have almost the like outgoingness of the glam and like hair metal like rockers that like the over the not in a bad way, but the over the top nature almost kind of thing that grunge like people were grunge rockers were too scared to do. But you have the very much like grungy kind of like vintage kind of look that a lot of grunge rockers had. I think it's kind of like a combination of that, and that kind of makes a lot of sense with what you're trying to do and kind of uniting a lot of different people into this one world where we can all listen to rock.
yeah, well, I mean, I dress like, I feel like, you know, I dress just because I dress like those hair metal dudes and like the Motley Crue guys and like, people like someone from Aerosmith. I dress like them, and I may engage in similar lifestyle activities, but the stuff they sing about definitely isn't how they feel all the time.
Yeah, for
Because,
sure.
I've been there, and you can't, a life of like constant excess doesn't feel fun. And it feels more like my music than like their music, in my opinion. Like, like partying and drugs and like excess in some ways can feel like girls, 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 or
Yeah,
kick out my heart. But in a lot of ways, it feels like a sad, lonely acoustic song, because like you could be in a room of people who might know your name or might, you know, think you're cool, but no one actually cares about you. No one gives a shit about you. And it can be more lonely to be surrounded by a lot of fake people than than to maybe have like one or two actual friends.
yeah. You may have just turned 18, but you have a lot of wisdom, and
Oh, thank you.
that's really good because yeah, I'm 19, but even then, with a year's difference, like I don't think I was that like self-aware. So that's really good. But yeah, yeah, I think that music that they kind of had in that hair metal genre or hair metal scene was kind of almost like a facade for how, or at least the lyrics were kind of a facade for maybe how they were really intently feeling. And then yeah, so I definitely see what you're saying there. And yeah, that lifestyle like that can be really difficult, and I think you really help capture that. Like I heard plenty of songs, like I listened to a lot of like for a while I didn't, but now I'm starting to get more into a lot of like more depressing songs and like sad stuff or whatever, and stuff about like hardship and stuff like that. And a lot of it seems real, and a lot of it they're talking about real widespread issues, but it's the people who give like the personal examples and the stories that feel like it's coming like this is someone speaking directly to you is really moving. And I haven't felt that way about music in a while, or I haven't felt that in a song in a while, or an EP in a while, till I listened to yours.
Thank
Like
you. That means so much to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's so personal and so raw, but at the same time it's like it feels so raw, but at the same time, it feels like theatrical in a way that gives you chills. You know what I mean? Like it's a great. I know this is just the beginning for you, but I think it's really good work, and I think I'm really excited to see how far this goes.
Yeah, it was cool. It was honestly a very, even though it was kind of chaotic, it was definitely one of around the time of making that was definitely one of the best times of my life.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun, a lot of adventure. I was like going to Big Bear, Carpinteria, and Carmel every weekend, like going on crazy road trips, and like, you know, I met my current girlfriend around that
That's
time,
nice.
and it was cool, but I feel like in a way it was kind of self-prophesizing because I wasn't depressed or sad at all when I wrote it,
Yeah.
which may seem kind of like how,
Yeah. But I
which,
totally get that actually.
but I was tapping into the repercussions of my actions. I feel like because in the time preceding that, like any up has a down, and like I feel like my subconscious experienced the down before my body and actual mind did, and wrote about it, and then I actually experienced the repercussions of like that, time of excess.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times, at least throughout my life, like sometimes the hardest moment, or sometimes the moment where we're able to make the most expressive art isn't necessarily when we're in the darkest place, but it's when we realize we're in the darkest place. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with you, in the sense that you weren't necessarily depressed when you wrote it, but you were able is the realization process of like, oh shit, this is everything that's happening, this is where I'm at now, and it's a way to express it that's very healthy and is a gift to the world. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
So next thing I want to talk about is inspirations, because although we've talked about, kind of tiptoed around a lot of the thematic concepts of the EP, I think it would be really cool if we delved in and looked at kind of the inspirations and lyrical meanings in the songs.
yeah.
So if you just want to maybe give us some of the like inspirations for the songs, and maybe even where your musical kind of repertoire comes from, that'd be great.
Do you mean as in like specific songs and the life inspiration, or like my musical influences?
I actually mean kind of both. I know that's kind of a hard
Oh,
question to
okay.
grasp, but like,
No, that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, go off. You got
Are there
this.
any particular songs in specific?
I like "Girl, Your Heroine," and
Oh yeah, she's like heroin.
I'm sorry, she's
No,
like
it's okay,
heroin.
bro. Bro.
I've been listening to so much
No,
music in the
don't
past
worry
couple
about it.
days. I'm
I
so
totally get
sorry.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like your song. Yeah.
Um.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was written about my girlfriend. And I used to write a lot of love songs before I had ever actually fallen in love with anyone,
That's
because
that's
it's
pretty cool.
comfortable to write love songs. It's an easy thing to do, and ever since I met her, which is the first and only time that I have ever or will ever fall in love with anyone, I yeah, I just kind of had the concept for the song. It kind of came from me. The whole album I wrote in about 3 hours, so I didn't really have much time to think about them, the songs, and most of the ideas that I had about the songs and what they actually mean came after the fact of writing them, because it happened so quickly, because it's 5 songs, 3 hours. If you divide, I don't know math, but like that's not that much time
Me
for
neither. Me neither. That's why I
so
write.
so yeah, it's definitely like the riff. I kind of I feel like that style of playing where it's like the strumming of the power chord in an acoustic way was definitely kind of inspired from my pop punk phases, because if I had an electric guitar and was doing that and was just palm muting, that would sound like, you know, that would be like a fucking, like, it could be like a,
Yeah, I actually totally noticed. I
that's
did
like a
notice
pop
that. I was
punk
like,
thing,
okay.
but do then it's like it has a whole new meaning. So yeah, and then it's kind of about like how how much I cared about her and was attached to her, but how much I kind of felt like, she was my happiness, and she was creating all this positivity for me, but it was also shrouded in negativity, just like definitely due to the amount of like drugs we were doing in
Yeah.
our early relationship, which it wasn't like hard necessarily, as in like we never did heroin or like
Yeah.
anything, but I did get addicted to kratom, which is, if anyone here watching this has ever thought about trying kratom, definitely don't. It's fucking stupid. It's like, it's a legal opiate sold in head shops, and
Yeah.
people don't even say it's an opiate because it would be illegal if it was, but it really is. It hits the same brain receptors, and like, yeah. So we kind of did a lot of that together, and she didn't have as much of a problem with it as I did, but I got to a point where I was like nodding out like on that like pretty much every other day, and
Yeah.
like, not remembering large periods of time, and like basically I guess the whole song is about how, she brings me happiness, but I felt like some of the things that we were doing were slowly like kind of killing me and like killing us, but it all worked out in the end, and I'm 100% sober now, and
That's amazing.
I'm,
You should be so
really
proud of
focused
yourself.
on my health and stuff. I'm glad I never let it progress to like
Yeah.
anything hard. But basically, yeah, I guess the song is like, it's just like a dark romance song, because I think love songs are cheesy. So I wanted to make a love song that had like emotional potency, I guess.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, because like, a lot of people when they're writing love songs will go like either or, right? They'll go like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever. This is the best thing ever. Nothing bad is happening." Or, "Oh, this shit went bad. This shit's toxic. It's terrible." But this is
Yeah,
kind of like a weird in between where it's like a lot of good things, but also carrying a lot of negative connotations. And I
yeah,
really,
yeah, exactly. Because nothing is positive and nothing is negative. Everything is multifaceted. So, you know, that's why my music sounds the way it does. My chord progressions sometimes sound very happy and joyful, and it's an acoustic guitar, which is normally an instrument. It can be obviously used for sad stuff, but like sometimes the way I play it sounds kind of happy. Like Failure sounds happy if you listen to the instrumental, you know,
totally.
because I think killing yourself through your actions and like self-destructing, in some of the moments it feels blissful and it feels happy and it's funny, there's there's a lot of uh like grief masked by happiness that comes with self-destruction. So I feel like that's kind of one of the parts of my music that I really try to focus on, is the drama of melancholic lyrics and attitudes, and then like kind of a happy tone of the music.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I totally see that in your music. And I think that's kind of that kind of balance of like good, like and like positive themes mixed with negative is just so cool. It's a really cool cocktail, so to speak. It's very unique, and I think it's just so cool. Honestly, I just love it, and I think a song that's really amplified in or like, is "Good Day." I
Oh
think
yeah.
that is so. It's so like how I would describe it is like how like in a way like kind of like how sometimes in horror movies they play like childlike music or something like that.
Yeah, that bro, that's 100% right on.
Okay, thank you. So to me, that's almost like what this is it's so familiar and so nostalgic, but because of the uncertainty around it and because of the general undertones, we feel uneasy. And that's kind of like what that song does for me, at least. And
Yeah,
what a
I mean, it's like, why are clowns scary?
yeah, exactly. So the next thing I want to ask you about is the recording process. Can you talk a little bit about that for the EP and your new single,
Tinfoil Man.
Tinfoil Man? Yeah, okay. I was
Yeah.
scared to say Tinfoil Man because I was like, that sounds stupid if it wasn't actually what, but it.
No, that's what it's called. Yeah, yeah. It's chilling. Um, I used to work with this producer that with my first producer that I really worked with, that I made a lot of like the electronic and pop punk music with, everything was very we both knew we had something. He's a great producer and I'm a great songwriter, so we knew that we had the potential to do something, but we psyched ourselves out and we were like, oh, everything needs to be timed. My vocal needs to be melodined. If you don't know what melodyne is, it's like auto-tune, but not auto-tune. It's like manual auto-tune. You drag your notes. So it sounds like there's no auto-tune, but it is. We're doing that. We're like, oh, everything, the bass needs to have auto-tune, so it's tuned, like doing all these crazy things to make sure the song was perfect. And in the end, it took the life out of it, and it also took way too much time, and it became not fun. So I was like, okay, fuck this. Like, I want music to have soul, and plus, I just want it to be live. I don't want to do any computerization. So I don't, in any of my new music, and all my music that I have out, except for Miss Misery, which is done by my first producer, everything is completely raw. There's no vocal tuning. There's no timing of any type. There's nothing computerized. Everything is 100% played by me or River Boyd, who is a guitarist and slide guitarist that I've been friends with and worked with for a while. So yeah, when I was recording the Salamander thing, obviously I wrote it in a day. And then I recorded it at Browntown Studios, which is a studio in Hollywood. John Brown mixed, mastered, and engineered, and then River Boyd helped with some of the guitar work, especially the slide. He played, I think, all of the bass and all of the slide, and helped with some guitar. And yeah, basically we just knocked it out really fast. I recorded all the guitar in one day and the vocals. So the songs were basically done in terms of guitar and vocals. And we kept imperfections in. There's parts where I mess up a little bit. There's parts where I stumble. There's parts where it's a little off key, but it's like authentic, and that's what's important. And then we, over the next few days, laid down bass, did slide. But it didn't take that long. It took like a week and a half, and it was so fun to make. And I think that really shines through on the record because, it was enjoyable to do. It didn't feel like a chore, and it was authentic. And literally, there was so much street noise. Like, I don't know if you can recall, but there's a part on She's Like Heroin where there's a siren.
Yeah.
That was an ambulance driving by.
I thought you guys, that was intentional.
He recorded it in his kitchen. It was like right next to John's kitchen. There was a couch and like a monitor and a computer and speakers and everything. And there's like a stained glass window that it kind of is permanently open, facing the street. And there were cars driving by all the time. And I remember we did the guitar. The guitar was such a good take. And then there was an ambulance that drove by in the middle, and they were all like, fuck, man, like, this take is ruined, like, there's a fucking ambulance. And I was like, wait, like,
kind of like it. Kind
yeah,
of
so we kept it. You can also hear River's son, Ollie, this 4-year-old, talking throughout the album too. If you hear a baby's voice, that's also not on purpose.
That's crazy.
He's babysitting on the track.
I love that. I think that just adds another like level of authenticity to it. And I think it also, if you ever make some music videos, would be killer for like, I'm just picturing like maybe if you wanted to, or
I do. I have a music video out.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
There's a music video for Miss Misery on the Death Proof channel.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check it out, and I'll definitely leave a link to that in the description because I didn't see that, but that's really cool.
Also, there's possibly a music video for She's Like Heroin that may not be getting finished next Wednesday.
That's exciting. And that's what I was going to say, that whole EP. I could just picture like it not even being a music video, but it could just be, I was just picturing like I'm not saying you have to do this, but this, like a short film almost, like of some guy just walking on the street with like his guitar and like, I don't know. I could see that and like little like interludes in the middle, but I don't know. That's just my ambitious mind. But either way, you want to go into the recording
Cool.
process for those music videos you made?
Oh, the recording for the videos. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the She's Like Heroin video isn't out yet. It's directed by Izzy Paquette, who is a videographer that I met through this drummer that I used to work with when I used to do rock music, named Patrick, and it's his girlfriend. And she hit me up because she heard She's Like Heroin. She wanted to do a video, and that's obviously I think the song with the most pop potential. So, we did the video. We shot it about a month ago, and we didn't get enough shots, so we're finishing next week. And it was really fun. It's like in the forest, with Sarah, my girlfriend, and it's a really cool video. I'm not trying to spoil a ton, but it's definitely gonna be cool.
I think
And
you're giving away just enough to make people excited. So that's good.
yeah, and then the Miss Misery video was shot by Narlos Wright, who is one of the Death Proof videographers. He's pretty renowned. He did all pretty much all I think all the videos for NASCAR Aloe's new album, and he's done videos for City Morgue and Shrimp, and he's definitely very talented. We had some personal disagreements um, about like money and stuff, but he's regardless of like what happened, he's definitely he was definitely a talented dude. So I think we did create something pretty cool in our time working together.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I can't wait to see that video when it comes out. And I'll definitely have to check out the one that's already out. But yeah, that kind of leads me to my final string of questions, which I just want to hear more about your life, honestly, and the things that led up to you're a very young guy, but the things that have led up to the creation of your new music, as in like maybe your high school experience and kind of things like that.
Yeah, so I had the weirdest high school experience. I was so it kind of starts. I have to start the story in middle school. In middle school I was very 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 skinny and uh, very shy and awkward, and
I can
I
relate to that.
struggled a lot. And because I was into rap, and I went to Mariposa. You don't know what that is, but it's a Waldorf school in LA, and there were 20 kids in my grade, and everyone was very cookie cutter, like teacher's pet type, and I wasn't, and like I got bullied, and I didn't really have any friends, and I was a loser, and it fucking sucked. And the summer before high school, I decided that I didn't want to be a loser anymore, and I wanted to do cool shit. And I wanted to get girls, and I wanted to have friends, and I wanted to like not be fucking toothpick anymore. So I started working out a ton, and I no one knew me at this new high school, so I could totally reinvent myself. Like back in middle school, people would like scoot their chairs away from me, like ignore me, like knock over my food, just like fuck shit. So I was determined to not have that happen in high school. So I went to high school, and I was playing baseball, and I was kind of like for the beginning of freshman year, I was like a very jockey archetype baseball player kid, which is kind of like weird. You wouldn't think that would be me. And then this girl named Ruby McCain, who I dated for 2 weeks, broke up with me. And it was so insignificant, but at the time it
It felt
shattered.
like everything.
I was so fucked, and it messed me up so bad. And I quit baseball. And I started listening to emo music, and I dyed my hair black, and everything started. And then I stopped working out, and I started smoking weed, and it definitely wasn't weed. It was like fucking carts of whatever it was, pesticides.
Yeah.
And that fucked me up for a while. I was pretty depressed. So for half of freshman year to kind of the beginning of sophomore year, I was, I was pretty depressed, and then I had a period of time in the beginning of sophomore year where I was like very suicidal, and I was like, I would like run away and like eat rat poison, and then I did acid at school. And it wasn't real acid. It was like, first of all, I did 3 times the amount that you should have done, and it was fake. And I was up for 3 days. I had psychosis, and I like broke my guitar, tried to like cut open my throat, and like just some terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And then I met a girl, and uh, we got along, and we I don't think I was actually in love, but it was the first thing I thought I would call love. So it made me a lot happier, and we would go on dates. It only lasted like 3 weeks, but it totally raised my confidence. I started working out again,
That's how it works in high school.
stopped
Yeah.
the suicidal ideations and like the weird, like crazy, like psychedelic use. And then you know, my confidence totally skyrocketed. And then I broke up with her like 2 weeks later, and then I was super happy. And then I kind of found myself. I started dressing alternative because people in her grade were alternative, people in my grade weren't. And then COVID happened about like a few months later, and then I started, I had no one to hang out with, and all the kids who I was friends with, who I didn't relate to, were all like kind of the more straight edge, good kids. Their parents wouldn't let them go out because they had families. They had a mom and a dad, and they would be like, "No, you're not going to do this." And then all the kids whose parents didn't really care about them could all hang out, and they just all happened to be the weird alternative gay art kids
Yeah.
who dressed weird and like were into tattoos and all had dyed hair and listened to David Bowie. And I was like, found my people. So I had a pretty fun quarantine and summer. I, you know, broke in to my school and threw birthday parties. I did crazy shit. I was in a throuple when I was like 16. What else did we do? We did so much fun things. We just like had the best possible coming of age experience that you could
Yeah.
have as a kid.
You'd be surprised. This is like the third somewhat criminal confession on this.
Oh, it's okay,
No,
man.
I just think it's funny. Just on
For all, for
out
all
of the few
intents
interviews I've done. No,
for all
it's
intents and
totally.
purposes, this is for entertainment. None of this is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
but yeah, so uh yeah, I had a very fun time. I felt accepted, and with people that, I felt like I could be myself around. And then, you know, it all kind of went to shit because we all dated each other, and the
Yeah,
girls
that's
dated each other as well because they were all bi, and then everyone kind of ended up hating each other, and now most people are on speaking terms. But um, I also, just not being in school, and through COVID, I would either be hanging out with people or playing guitar, and like I think COVID really gave me a chance to be myself and not be stuck in a school with people who like would like call me a faggot for like having long hair, not
yeah,
even wearing eyeliner, just like
long hair, the
wearing
basic,
socks or something. So
looking presentable.
exactly. So, but yeah, it was it was pretty cool. I definitely had an interesting time, but I had a lot of fun, and I had a lot of went to a lot of parties. I had a lot of cool relationships, and I think I had all of that already in my life. So I don't really need friends anymore. I don't crave social experiences and like doing all that kind of stuff because I already did it. All I want to do is just make good art now and like just play the guitar and get really, really good at something.
That's really admirable, and that's like really you've been through a lot, and I just want to say like I'm really glad that you're able to express those emotions in the form of art, and I'm really glad that you've come a long way from yeah. So you've because I see a lot of myself in you actually for the
Oh, thanks, man.
experiences I went through in high school, not to the like not to the exact experience, but I definitely had a lot of similar experiences of finding myself and finding a crowd that suited me and finding a passion that I wanted to put myself into. So I definitely see a lot of myself in you, and I think that's a really cool thing. And I think a lot of people will feel that exact same way when they listen to your music.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. But anyways, that wraps up our interview. Go check out Addy Idol on Spotify, Apple Music.
Apple Music, SoundCloud, your mama house, all of it.
Just making, yeah. And you can check out me on Instagram, YouTube, our Spotify playlists are up,
Yeah.
and also TikTok now. So yeah, just check the links out in the description and I'll take you to all that. And yeah, that concludes our interview. See you guys.